All right, so time for me to do an album review. I haven't done one of those in a long while, I know, but yeah, here's me doing it again, right? And today I'll be talking about the debut album from the hip hop group called Rebel Embassy. So essentially, the album is called Shy the Beat Yoda Presents Rebel Embassy. So, if you've been following my video section of the podcast, this is basically called BBB Radio Interviews. I spoke to Shy the Beat Yoda. He is a Canadian rapper slash producer, and I also talked about his collaborative album with fellow Canadian rapper Lizeppo called Murky Waters, right? So they formed this group called Guillotine Shark. Though that's what the name is about, but basically GS Gangstar, right? That's essentially what it's about, right? And I also spoke with another member of, Rebel Embassy, that will be E. Smithy, right? We've collaborated on, on a recent episode of Retrospect Reviews. And we also had a nice interview where, I spoke about, where I talked to him about his album, alongside Shy the Beat Yoda, which is called The Beginning Of. This is, their debut album as the Soul Powers, right? Which, in case you didn't pick up on it, was actually my favorite album of 2021, right? So yeah, it's like, I know two of these members already. I'm familiar with Lizeppo, but here's where I get the chance to hear the other members of the team themselves, right? And I'll get to who they are in a bit, right? So essentially, yeah, the Rebel Embassy is basically this American Canadian rap group. It's all about just these grimy, just or soulful boom bap beats. Shy is handling production throughout, and ever so often he comes in, he raps and whatnot, right? E, who is a rapper, but he also comes through with some great vocals as well, because yeah, he's a singer as well. And it's just them doing their thing, but of course you have these other MCs who come in, who are here pretty much to do their thing, right? So yeah, what we get here is basically this 10-track album. It clocks in at roughly 40 minutes. So I'm just gonna do like a quick run through of this album here, right? So we open with The Platoon, right? This opens with a clip from Jarhead. This is a movie, honestly, I haven't seen in ages, but that was actually a great war film. I kind of call it the Full Metal Jacket of the 2000s, if you really think about it.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
solid film. It was a solid film, right? But basically, it's the moment where the drill sergeant saying, "You're not white, you're not black or yellow, you're green, you're light green, you're dark green," and so on, right?
Right.
We then get this menacing piano-driven beat. It's laced with these sound effects that sound lifted from like a war film. So you're just hearing like bullets and just people charging and all that kind of stuff. And for me, this is like literally the Bring the Ruckus, from Wu-Tang, or Heat from Brockhampton. That opening track that just kind of comes in, like the doors open and somebody just comes and boom, just smacks you over the face too. And that's literally what it is. It's just everybody just comes in, they just do considerable damage and they just move on, right? But together is just basically just the unity between these MCs here, right? So basically they're forced to be reckoned with, right? And this is what this track emphasizes beautifully, in my opinion, right? Everybody does their damn thing on this track here. So I'm just basically going to be like just calling out the artists themselves in order of how they brought on, right? Because yeah, I know for some people this will be the first time that you'll be hearing about these rappers, right? So allow me to just be the one to say, oh, it's this guy who comes in first and this one comes in afterwards, right? So we have Details, right? He comes in, he opens the track nicely. Then we have Shy the Beat Yoda. He comes with a fiery verse. I love where he says, "Trust me, if I punish you lyrically, cousin, that sure be more painful than punches or kicks in the nuts or the dick can be." I love that, right?
Yeah.
We have E. Smithy, who comes through with his grimy ass hook, as pretty much targeted at any like whack MC in quotes who think they could step to Rebel Embassy, right? That bar where he says, "Jesus Christ, Buddha, Jah, Nah, Jehovah can't save you. When all feels dwell in hell for your godlike behavior." It's like, jeez, but it's real grimy shit, right? But I love it, right? It's just whew. Up next we have Lizeppo, Night Uno, and Gideon Knight. I'll talk about these guys later on, right? But those three rappers pretty much end the song on a strong note, man. So yeah, hell of a great way to start the album off, right? Next off, we have Motion Picture Shit, right? And it's funny that this is the following track after the Platoon, because Platoon is a motion picture, right? Get it? Haha, right? Anywho, right? So if Platoon is the war track. This feels like something out of a neo-noir film, right? There's sort of like a shadowy, sinister vibe to the instrumental here, particularly in the hypnotic piano chords that play throughout the song, right? Night Uno starts off first, and he comes through with easily one of the best lines on this entire album. This guy spits, Port of Spain over the Port-au-Prince, back to Portmore, stack of paper like a hoarder's crib.
Okay.
So I was like, all right,
I'm
you
pushing
shout out
harder.
Heat, you shout out Trinidad, you shout out Haiti
Right.
and Jamaica in that couplet, boy.
Yeah, you know.
Round of applause. I love it. I love it, right? E. Smithy comes through with a pretty memorable and melodic hook. I really like the sequels and prequels to Infinity Bar that, it's clearly referenced in the song's title, right? On his verse alone, though, Lizeppo kind of comes off as the group's most idiosyncratic members. So, like, he will just drop some lines that will just fly past you. And then, like, you just kind of stop a moment. You're like, wait, what? What is this say? And then you run it back, you think about it for a while, and you're like, oh, okay, I see, right? So he says, backdraft and caught a fly back running and lost focus. Now they ask you where the eye patch coming, right? It's weird, but it just sounds so smooth, though. You know what I mean? And like when you really think about it, it's like, okay, I see. It's just all these dope punchlines this guy has, right? And, Details closes off the song with a verse just chock full of braggy, just cocky bars. If it's one thing about this guy, he's just all about that braggadociousness, right? So, I just love that about him, right? Up next, we have The Champs Are Here. And don't let the title fool you. They're not going to get some kind of energetic sort of entrance music for some like random boxer, right? But instead, Shy comes through with a smooth nocturnal beat. Like it sounds like, as 50 Cent call it riding music. All the gangsters are riding to it, right? So beat-wise, it really does feel like a soul powers track, right? Because it has this soul music aesthetic and it has these soulful vocals that E. Smithy brings to the table here, right? And I really dug the flows here that everybody brought to the table, right? Whether it's Lizeppo, or Details, or Gideon Knight, or Night Uno, right? Everybody just kind of came through, just kind of matched the vibe of the song, and yeah, everybody just did their thing, man. Up next, we have the second single of the album, which is called The Big Show, right? This is easily one of the best tracks on this album. Tonally, this feels like a spiritual successor to the Platoon, right? Because, yeah, it's piano-driven, but it's way darker, it's way murkier, in my opinion, right? The chords themselves sound like they're lifted from some sort of slasher flick, right? Like, when you hear it, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? And basically just how aggressive everybody approaches this beat, right? So Shy starts his song off strong. I love how he basically highlights his veteran status from his opening bars onwards, right? So he says, I'm your North American idol, one that no contender can stifle, the owner of an effortless flow that's never recycled. I'm legend. My quest to uphold the essence is vital. I'm a rebel representative, golden era disciple, right? And as I mentioned with Soul Powers before, E. Smithy comes right afterwards, and he comes with some razor-sharp rhymes of his own, right? And I know, like, they're not the only MCs in this track, but basically in that moment, you could just see and hear basically how they work together and bounce off each other, right, during their short time on this track, right? Even the sort of Grandmaster flash hook that they do is great as well. It's pretty much an interpolation of the hook from the message, right? It's a jungle sometimes. Sometimes I wonder how I feel from getting under. You know that, right? Yeah. Night Uno, who comes in next, his wordplay is damn impressive. So there's a moment where he says Gaijin with the sly grin, black ring, Tokyo Rose, hose, and fried squid. Slide in, Tokyo drift, she drives stick, ride stick, slanted eyes, and tick like 5 bricks. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, he going off. I love that, right? Same could be said for Details, right? I love how he just drops these wrestling references on this hook, like The Big Show, hence the title, DiBiase and Virgil, of all people, Kids Axie parents, and even Kevin Nash that he brings up in the end, right? But I have to say, the guy who really steals the show is Lizeppo, boy. His verse is stellar, but he drops one-liner. And once again, it's one of those things that will fly past it, but you stop, you ask yourself what does he say, you run it back, and it's like, oh, okay. So he says, the mechanic for any job gets snatched like Turkish. So basically, he mentioned Jesus Statham and his appearances in both The Mechanic and Snatch Shred. I like, all right, bro. Okay. Okay, bro. Okay. But I love that line. I fucks with that line, right? Interestingly, Gideon Knight now he ends his verse with like a series of RIP shoutouts, right? So it's similar to like what E. Smithy will do at the end of the final track, right? So slight spoiler, right? So he mentions Aretha Franklin, Michael Jackson, Left Eye, Biggie, MF Doom, DMX. There's a lot of people, right? And at first you might kind of wonder why he would end the song off like that, even though they're going for this dark tone. But it's just how calculated this flow is. Like he just really flows very well on this beat, right? So it somehow fits, right? It doesn't really feel out of place, right? Despite the murkiness of the beat, right? But yeah, the song knocks. I absolutely love this song, right? So we now get to the midpoint of the album. Now we have Levy I. This is one of two Gideon Knight solo tracks, right? It's the shortest track on the album. It clocks at roughly 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And Shy comes through with this moody string-assisted production, right? And Gideon just basically comes through with these esoteric stream of consciousness like bars. This is a compliment here, but for me, he kind of reminds me of like Killer Priest, right? He's like one of the more popular Wu-Tang Clan affiliates, right? This guy who would just come through and just spit all these jewels at you, but he'll just kind of just do it in this sort of like, in this sort of stream of consciousness kind of style, you know what I mean? So yeah, like you'll be vibing to the song and whatnot, and you'll just be throwing all these like, nuggets of information at you, right? And at times most of those things will fly past your head, but it's one of those moments where you have to kind of stop and just really dive in and take in what it is he's saying. Even though it is kind of like in parts, but this how he kind of it feels more like fractures basically, but basically like when you listen to it, you like see the whole portrait come together basically, right? So yeah, and it works as a cool down track, as we call it, from the flames of the big show, right? So yeah, this track works, man. Up next we have Chainsaw Rap, which features this mid-tempo, head-nod-inducing instrumental, as laced with these female vocals in the background, and even has this sample from this 2018 battle rap. I had to dig up on YouTube to find out, featuring these two rappers, Drugs and True 4, right? So Drugs is this guy who comes in and says, "You get another cut and another cut. It's look like the beat, the seatbelt won't work. I'm trying to buckle up." You know what I mean? And it's like when you actually see it perform live, though, it is dope, though. It's incredibly dope. You feel that hunger and that aggression, right? And this track in particular has this sort of like demigod / army of the pharaohs kind of vibe to it, where it's just a standard boomer beat. Everybody kind of knows what they're gonna do. They just kind of come in, rip the track to shreds, and just leave, right? And that's what it is, right? No filler, no subtext, sorry, just street spitting, right? Details does his thing, then Shy. The MVP for me is E. Smithy, though. He snaps on his first with like one hard hitting bar after another, man. So yeah, he closes the song off beautifully, in my opinion, right? So yeah, that great track here, right? Chainsaw Rap. Up next we have Make Up Your Mind. This has this mellow, jazzy, chilled out instrumental. There's a few cuts of like this R&B sample near the end that reinforces the song's title. Essentially this is Details and Shy and E. Smithy, on the mic, just basically getting a little bit more introspective, right? Talking about, just how they were able to, achieve their dreams in the rap game. But at the same time, there's all these haters, there's all these people who are like loving them at first, but then as soon as they attain these successes, it's like, nah, we don't like you anymore, right? And speaking of Details, though, he's clearly the guy who just gets a track started, and yeah, he comes through with a dope verse. He's talking about basically stunting on his haters, and I believe he's the guy who does the hook as well too, right? I could be wrong. Y'all can tell me in the comment section, but I believe he's the guy who does the hook, right? Shy's verse in particular really hit me on a personal level because he's rapping about his contemplations and basically what his purpose in life actually is, right? As he says in his opening bars, is it to make a change or live the way of a worthless fool? And what if I've mistaken my purpose too? The fear of not knowing whether my fate is reversible, right? And yeah, that's definitely something I can relate to in the sense that, yeah, this is something that you want to do, but at the same time, in the back of your mind, just kind of wondering, okay, is this really for me, or am I destined to do something else, or should I just be normal? But then, what is my life gonna really be or matter at the end of the day? Because yeah, I'm just like everybody else, right? I'm not gonna stand out, right? So yeah, that absolutely is a point, or points I should say, that I absolutely relate to, right? Um, E. Smithy closes the track off nicely with this little autobiography of sorts of his come up in the music world, right? So he's talking about, overcoming his own self doubt in order to just pick up the mic and showcase his talents, right? Whether it be singing or rapping. And yeah, there were those who doubted him before he even opened his mouth to say anything, right? And then there were those who heard what he sang or rapped, and then they just pretty much did the same thing. But the point is, he proved to himself in the world that he has this talent. It's really up to him to keep pursuing those dreams, right? And reap the benefits, right? So yeah, fantastic track. Love it. Is one that I could absolutely relate to, right? Up next, we have Rebel Match. This is the longest track on the album and easily one of the most hard-hitting tracks here, right? I love everything about the production on this, right? Whether it's the hard drums, the cuts, sort of retro 80s synths that show up. There's even like this G-Funk like one that appears during the hook, and it has this sort of like sonar like sound effect that you hear throughout this track here, right? It kicks off with the soul powers themselves. That would be, Shy and E. Again, you're just seeing that chemistry between the two of them, right? Points for Shy's interpolation of Inspector Deck's magnificent opening bars from, Triumph from Wu-Tang. Talking about, right? Just that iconic opening bars from Inspector Deck. He kind of does his own take on that, right? Night Uno comes through with a great verse, and afterwards we get this rather grandiose verse from Gideon Knight, right? His vocals at some spots will kind of mix in such a way to kind of give the impression that you're hearing two versions of the same person spitting alongside each other. I thought that was a pretty interesting call, right? Because like with the first or second listen, I honestly thought it was two rappers, but no, it's actually him, right? Lizeppo kind of comes through with his own grandiose verse as well. He even mentions Guillotine, around the beginning, so that's a reference, of course, to Guillotine Shack. And then Detail now ends up closing the song now, and I love how he's just more or less drawing from the energy that everybody just brought to the table at this point. So at one point he says, "The embassy rebellious nigga, I'll fight God, and the devil himself will come out with light scars." Like, jeez, what I mean? Right. But yeah, this was fire. This was fury. I absolutely fucks with this track, man. So we now reach the penultimate track now. This is From the Ashes. This is the second and final of, the Gideon Knight solo tracks, right? This feels like a mellower sequel to Levy I. It has a particular 70s sound to it with its soothing flutes and strings, right? I love how the beat itself sort of mellows out near the end, you know what I mean? Just kind of bringing that sense of closure to the track here, right? But yeah, just like Levy I, Gideon gets dense and cryptic with his bars. I know for some people that'll be a turn-off, right? Because, there are some listeners who kind of want to understand everything that's being said, upon first listen. But, Gideon's clearly not that guy. He's going to be throwing a lot of facts, a lot of knowledge at you. Sometimes very, very, very quickly, though, because, yeah, these tracks, these two particular tracks are fairly short, right? But, yeah, there's just a lot in these tracks, so like lyrically, that you just literally have to just unpack and just dissect and analyze, right? But yeah, just like Levy I, this track is not going to be for everyone, but I don't know, I'm a guy who likes his wordplay with, some knowledge and some density in it as well, man. So yeah, From the Ashes was pretty dope, man. And last but not least, we have Yellow Bus. This is the first single of the album. There's a great music video for this as well, too. Alongside The Big Show, I strongly recommend checking those videos out. Yellow Bus is a lot of fun, though. If you check it out, you could tell that these guys had a blast working on it. And yes, it does involve a bus, a school bus, basically, right? That's all I'll say. The beat alone is one of my top favorites. It has a soulful sort of blaxploitation vibe to it, especially with the horns and the boom bap drums, right? Speaking of the beat, though, I love how it ebbs and flows during the first half of Gideon Knight's verses, right? Of Gideon Knight's verse. And also, just to touch on the video again, his costume in that video is awesome. It's sort of like this anime-esque kind of thing. Like, he's decked in black. He has this weird face mask on. He has a katana. So yeah, he's technically like the samurai in the group, right? But yeah, he looks badass in that, right? And yeah, I mean, essentially, this is just a fun track, man. Everybody just kind of come in, just spit in just all these cool woody bars, and just really get a sense of who they are as individuals, but how they work together as a team, right? E. Smithy in particular is clearly having a blast on this. I love how he comes in with his verse, how he starts off with, "I'm about to tear this motherfucker up," and then he just goes off with these RIP shoutouts, right? So as I said earlier, how Gideon Knight kind of just did his thing, so E does the same thing, right? But it's more along the lines of artists who help shape hip-hop and also those who, are alive right now. So he talks about like Scott LaRock, Guru, DJ Screw, or or DMC of Run DMC, but you'll also mention Slick Rick, Lauryn Hill, and Queen Latifah, right?
Right.
So in a nutshell, it's a short, sweet love letter to the art form of hip hop, and it just brings the song and the album to a heartfelt close, right? So, yeah, just to get to the outro of this review here. So yeah, you could just tell that this is just these MCs who just love the art form of hip hop, right? They feel it in their heart and their soul, and that's what it is. That's all it is to it. There's raw, unfiltered, but you could just tell that they just put in their hearts into everything that they spit here. And yeah, you know what I mean? I just felt it throughout, man. So in short, yeah, this was a dope debut album, though. And I would say that if you just love your hip hop, just pure and unfiltered, you know, with neck snapping beats and you're screwing your face, you know, while you're just nodding your head, and it's just bar fest after bar fest, and yeah, you will have a blast with this one, though. So for me, this gets a decent to strong 4 out of 5, man. They really impressed me here. I will be seeking out the members. I'll be seeking out their works as well too. And I do recommend that, you know, if you're going into this album completely blind, yeah, I mean, give these guys, like, just check out their discographies, man, right? You know, whether it's albums or singles, check out their work, man, because they're doing the damn thing, man. So yeah, shout out to Details, shout out to Lizeppo, shout out to Night Uno, shout out to Gideon Knight, shout out to Shy again, you know what I mean, shout out to E again, you know what I mean, y'all, just keep doing your thing, man. So Rebel Embassy is a real thing, man. So yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend checking out the Rebel Embassy. All right, and we stick it with rap just a little bit more, but actually for a TV show that I've been hearing about. This is called Rap Shit, right? And the I actually is not so much an I, it's actually like a exclamation mark, right? Which is funny, right? But for what I know is that this is the newest show to be executive produced by McGill Issa Rae, right?
Yep.
So, you know, it's great that she is still working with HBO, you know, because they gave her like what, 3, 4, no, is it how much seasons we got of Insecure? I believe it's 4 or 5, right? I think it's 5. Yeah. 5 great seasons of Insecure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we absolutely love that show. So but I didn't want to watch any trailers or anything like that about Rap Shit. I wanted to go in completely blind, right? But 2 episodes actually dropped last week at the time of us recording this. I didn't see it. I pretty much waited for the season to wrap up and I just do a full binge, right? But yeah, Ricardo, you saw the first 2, so take it away. What is it about did these episodes impress you, and what do you think? What do you expect going forward with this? This season?
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, it's really feels like the other side of, in more ways than one, the other side of Issa Rae's life and career being put forward. Like, well, could she have been a musician? And yeah, the answer is yes. She probably could have been. How this show feels, it feels more or less like how to describe this way. It feels like if Insecure was for elder millennials, Rap Shit is for younger millennials, right? It goes a little younger. It plays its conceit as basically the city girls origin story. Like, that's how it feels.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so the 2 main characters is 2 friends who they do the kind of the inverse of what Issa and Molly was.
Yeah, Molly, yeah.
Right, in terms of levels up.
Yvonne Orgy, real
right,
name, yeah.
Right, yeah. And yeah, they just play that conceit about, but they flip it a little bit and then run the conceit. So like, Issa is educated, but she's not a professional in any kind of workable sense. Kind of was aimless until kind of coming on to the end. And then Molly was like a lawyer, clearly a lawyer, very, very strong professional career. This flips it. So they say, okay, well, what if you have the person who's the college person be kind of aimless, because they don't get into the details. They probably would do that, but we'll hopefully see that. And then the other character, the main character, who played by I think Chameleon, I don't know who she was. So until this, she's the real rapper apparently. It plays that premise of she's the one who's the kind of the low class one, I could say, for lack of a better term, right? Not educated, she didn't want to go to college, kind of had a shitty life, kind of want to build up herself. She have a kid with a rapper, but he's kind of a bum, but he also come through on her and he's help out. And they just go back and forth on that. And they play the conceit well. It starts the first episode of her. She basically does something that goes viral. But she had a rap career before, and people like seen her. She working as in the front of a hotel. I think she's a receptionist. I can't remember exactly what she does. But she works at this hotel. they do all these little scammy things that just make ends meet, which is be funny. And yeah, it's, I forget the character's name, but Aida Osman um, plays Shauna, right? So Shauna is this struggling rapper working at a hotel. She and she friend doing some stuff. She have a boyfriend who's studying to be a lawyer, and it's slightly mixed up version of the show. A lot of it plays itself on social media. So they use social media as a big conceit in terms of how social media affects them, or what messages you would see. And clearly it's for a younger audience who really grew up on social media. They have some good people like Jabuki White, for example. He's like a really funny comedian. He was on the Daily Show for a while, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they play the premise of, well, again, the main character, she's very similar to Issa, right? Educated but kind of aimless, and she's rap a little bit. But like instead of Issa doing the social work stuff, what if Issa decided to become a rapper? It feels like that. It's reasonably well done. Then Camillea's character, Mia Knight, she's like a single mother, also kind of a rapper, but then she doing little sex work stuff because you realize she have an Instagram. Sorry, not Instagram, OnlyFans, right? Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So little things like that. They establish all of this in the first episode, so nothing really spoiling per se. But they do a lot with that. And then yeah, the Shauna's character, what Shauna does kind of do, like she's do rap, but she's doing like real nerdy rap kind of stuff now. So she like talking about student bills. She have a whole song about that, but like the friend not really feeling it. And then they do a like so it's almost as if like it's she for her to become successful, at least to play. And they get into this kind of, well, it's a kind of a feminist argument in a sense of, you know, if you have the freedom to show off and shake your ass, does that mean you're successful, or you're still under a sexist system? Or do you have the freedom to become a sexist, to be free to your sexuality? Does that make you free or not? And they're going to that back and forth about sex work. Right, it's a whole argument in between feminism, as I'd imagine, right? But then her character is effectively like, at least starts off, she's kind of like, if you know who Samus is, or something like Raven the Science Maven, right? She's like that, but then she has to translate into effectively, you know, city girls, right? They kind of become city girls kind of type. And that's where it's building from. It also reminds you a little bit of, remember that movie where it was based on a Twitter thread? Zola.
Zola, yes,
Right.
Zola. I enjoyed Zola. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
So, right, well, the big change in it too is that, well, instead of California, it's Miami, right? So you focus on the Miami black scene, that whole thing with thing. And yeah, for the most part, it's solid characterization and writing, right? Issa wrote the first episode. It's clearly her writing and style in it, right? It mostly works, I think. Again, I have to probably see the rest of the season for him to properly judge it, of course. But as it is, I was enjoying it. I enjoyed for what it is, good characterization. They're making it work. The person who's Chameleon, apparently, I don't know who she was. I had to look she up. And apparently she, you know, people impressed with her acting skill. So it's like, all right, cool. She could because yeah, she really plays the role, and a lot of it focuses on her because she has a child, she has a daughter, and she has to do all of that drama, and you know, her raising a daughter, and again, the idea of women in this framework and what to do with that and whatnot, and to make money and to, you know, to struggle, and you know how people, and it gets into what it does well, and there's the last point, because what it gets into is just that very realistic modern relationship about people kind of want to see you who wanted to succeed and who wanted to grind, and why it is that, you know, your career won't stall, because like one of the, like an old friend who's an old producer, he blew up because 21 Savage took one of his beats, but then because he blew up, right, yeah, so but because he blew up now, he kind of throw she on the wayside now, because all the other bigger stars start coming in, and you know, you're making money, so, and she can't tell him no, but at the same time he kind of not really threw she under the bus, but you know, he just kind of just let she kind of get negligent towards her, and she kind of guess burn she bridges against him, and it's all these little small relationships of that adds up over time. You know, people just don't want to work or don't want to get something, and it's the very you know, struggles of show business stuff, how to get something done. Yeah, you've had relationships with people like this before, who cut you, who don't want to do work with you, who half-assing it, or who didn't care. Because, you know, yeah, it's your dream, not their dream. And sorry, you know, unless you're paying them some good money, or you're whipping them like some kind of slave, yeah, they ain't getting that done unless you're getting it done. Like, sorry to say it, right? And so that's how it does. It plays itself really well on that conceit. And I enjoyed it so far. Right? It's not super funny, not as funny as Eater, but I don't think it's trying to be. But it's still good. But yeah, so far, yeah, solid start for OK Show. As I said, I was excited to see what Issa Rae gonna do next, and well, yeah, we're gonna get in some ways we're gonna get more Insecure. It really feels like an Insecure 2.2. Right, as I mentioned, if Insecure is for elder millennials, this is for younger millennials, or maybe Gen Z to a certain extent. So that's about it. Yeah.
All right, and I assume that if you are a rap fan, you will at least appreciate it, right?
Yeah, if you're a Miami rap fan, definitely, because I see they dropped enough Trick Daddy tracks and Trina tracks, and,
well, of course, yeah.
Right. So it's that history now. So it's like, yeah, it's that. So yeah,
I mean, who knows? You might get an Uncle Luke cameo, maybe.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
All right. Well, I will definitely give Rap Shit a watch, man. You know,
yeah,
it sounds great, man.
Yeah, give it a chance. It's not like a waste of time. It's relatively short episodes, like Insecure. So it's not like they ain't making a watch a movie. So it's fine.
Right.